Welcome into the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Brendan Glasheen. This is Green Dot Daily. We are back every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app, and you can watch us on YouTube. If you are, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Also, like the video if you don't mind. Anthony Dabbundo is going to join the show later on with MLB picks, including a look at an AL contender to miss the playoffs, plus Tiny Tim's Tuesday takeaways. Tim Kalinowski will not have my positivity. He is full of negativity. But of course, we start with the devastating news for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. According to multiple reports, Rodgers' first season in the Big Apple is already over. The four-time MVP suffered a complete tear of his Achilles tendon on Monday night. And here is the shift in Jets Super Bowl odds. Wow. Currently now at 50-1. There was real opportunity here for the Jets, and 4 snaps in, it is over. To discuss the Aaron Rodgers injury, we start our programming with Brandon Anderson, his first appearance on Green Dot Daily of the 2023 football season. Brandon, thanks for stopping by. Just really, it's jarring news to still wrap our heads around. What did you make of it in the moment, your instant reaction?
I mean, shocking in the moment, right? We're settling in for this great Monday night game, opening Monday night. We got Peyton and Eli on TV, and then we didn't really have a chance to settle in. Like you said, first drive, not even really deep into the drive, and all of a sudden Rodgers is down. We go to commercial. We got the card out, and it's just developing quickly. We got all the the Twitter doctors and the zoomed in cameras of the bulging calf, and now here we are, Zach Wilson, Brendan. I was on here with you last fall, and we did the move away from Zach Wilson. We were in on Garrett Wilson to win Rookie of the Year because Zach was out. Now Zach is back. So this is not the news Jets fans are hoping for.
How would you, and I'm going to get into something Sean Kerner had last night when he reacted to the news on the Action Network app and on the website as well. How would you, though, personally quantify the shift from Rodgers to Wilson for the remainder of the season?
The shift is very large, right? What are words? What are synonyms for ginormous? Like the size of the universe between them. Zach Wilson for his career, 2 years, 55% completion rate. That's bad. More interceptions and touchdowns, 18-15 for his career, 8-14 win-loss record. He's sacked about 1 out of every 10 dropbacks. That's bad, especially for this bad offensive line. By any real measure, if you look back over the last 2 years, Zach Wilson's the worst regular starting quarterback in the NFL. That's that. Aaron Rodgers won MVP one of those years. He was 6th in my quarterback rankings for opening day. Zach Wilson, if I had to do it again, probably 31st. You can thank Arizona for that one, Zach. But it's not great. The book is not written. He's only 24 years old. But, Jalen Hurts nearly won MVP. He's 25. Tua Tagovailoa nearly set opening day record. He's 25. Justin Herbert, 25. So 24 is not old, but it's not nothing either. Like, we should be seeing something by now if Zach is going to be the quarterback. So looking back at last year, the DVOA, when Zach Wilson played quarterback for the Jets, they were 27th in offensive DVOA. They were bottom 10 passing, bottom 10 rushing. When any other quarterback in the world stepped on the field for the Jets until the wheels fell off the last couple of weeks, they were 16th. They were league average as opposed to terrible, bottom 6 in the league. So it's a huge, huge drop-off. The offensive line gets worse without Rodgers. He would have made them better with his pocket presence. I think the coaching, Nathaniel Hackett probably is less valuable. Honestly, even the great defense is in worse shape because the offense can't stay on the field. You're throwing an interception. You're in a worse position. It all cascades. I mean, look, we know, Brendan, quarterback is the most important position in football. So big picture, where do I see it? I had the Jets offense ranked 14th coming into the season with Rodgers, about like the Lions or the Jaguars, right? A pretty good offense. With Zach Wilson, in my matrix, the offense drops from 14th to 30th. The third worst offense in the NFL, like the Buccaneers, basically. Overall, the Jets go from 13th overall to 24th. Basically, they're now the Broncos or the Raiders, similar position. Arguably, the Jets are now the worst team in the AFC outside of the AFC South. And that's harsh, but that's the switch to Zach Wilson.
And to put a number on it, Sean Kerner, our director of predictive analytics, his instant reaction last night. The switch from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson as far as a spread, the shift is between 5.5, 6 points. So as we saw last night, line closed at 2.5, Jets as underdogs. With that particular circumstance in that line last night, it moved up to close to 7.5 points. And then, of course, the Jets made it interesting. They won the game, which was a good moment for the Jets. And they needed that for that stadium. That stadium, if the Jets didn't win and they didn't score any points last night, after the way the Giants looked Sunday, they probably should have tossed bleach on the whole stadium. Anyway, from a betting perspective now, week to week, the schedule does not get easy for the Jets. It was already tough with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. What is your reworked strategy now, betting week to week on Jets games?
Yeah, I think that Kerner number, 5.5 or 6, that looks about right. We've got right now Jets Cowboys next week. Whew. Cowboys 40-0, and now they get to host Zach Wilson and the Jets. So heading into Monday, that line was looking at about 3.5-point favorites for Dallas. We're now at 9.5. That's right at the money, right about where Kerner said this would be. I actually would maybe even bump it a little higher, maybe 6.5 or 7, because I think it's not just losing Rodgers. It's losing by addition by putting in Zach Wilson. I think he's a negative, so I'm going to bump a little further there. Even total, same difference. It also dropped about 6 points there as well. So I think as you look forward to the schedule now, we got Cowboys next, got the Patriots. Those are my number 1 and number 2 defenses up next. Good luck, Zach Wilson. Bills were 3rd, by the way, so enjoy starting your season against the top 3 defenses. Then you got the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. You got at Denver. That's never a fun picnic in Denver. And then you got Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So you've got the two of the Super Bowl teams from last year waiting after these 2 defenses. So it's rough. Then the bye week is after that. Maybe we find a different answer, a veteran. Maybe we make a switch or at least settle Zach in. But, man, you might be 1-5. You might be 2-4 at that stretch. I think as you look game to game, we have to be careful here. It's always very easy to just want to fade the backup quarterback, right? That's just the obvious instinctive thing to do. And historically, you look at the odds. Normally, the odds swing too dramatically, and there's actually some value on the backup. If you do want to fade the Jets, and I do want to fade the Jets, I think the way to do it is Jets team unders. That way, I don't have to fade the defense. We saw last night, the defense was awesome. The special teams won the game. The offense stunk and still could not move the ball and still could not score unless Josh Allen helped them and put out his hand and dragged them to the finish line, right? Mm-hmm. So I think if you want to fade the Jets, you take the Jets team total under, and that's the way to go game to game.
And I would also add week 4, week 5, Kansas City and Denver respectively. Who knows? At that point, Kansas City might have it figured out with some of those younger receivers who weren't great in the opener, understandably. And Sean Payton's going to have a little more time with Denver, so more time for those teams to catch up. That does not do the Jets any favors. What about from a season-long perspective? You already bet the Jets before the season started to miss the playoffs at plus 120. That number is going to soar out of control, and they'll be favored to miss the playoffs, no question. What about exploring Jets futures? Timing, of course, is important. Is there anything you like now?
Yeah, I've got to fade the Jets. They're minus 280 now to miss the playoffs. I'm not sure there's a ton of value in that number, but if you look ahead, especially when you factor in that Kerner drop on the spread, it's possible the Jets may not be favored until December. They might not be favored at all this season, depending on how the games play out. So I like the under 8.5. You can see that it's up at some books now. It'll be popping, I think, the rest of the day. I don't know how this team gets above 500. They got the win last night. That's a nice help. But I think this is really a chance to bet the other teams in the AFC that you like. Stock up for all the other playoff contenders. The Browns, I thought, were a big winner this week. Jets Super Bowl hopes, Jets AFC tickets. Sorry, I think you just got to rip them up and move on. I'm going Jets under, and I'll take that at the under 8.5, even with the juice.
Okay. If Brandon Anderson adds anything else, you can find him in the Action app and also when he joins us on Green.Daily. Great to have you back. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.
7-9 the rest of the way would do the job for Brandon. Dolphins are now the favorites in the AFC, or latest after the Aaron Rodgers injury. They'll face the Patriots in prime time this Sunday night. Pats are at plus 900, and that's a Miami line -2, by the way. Miami favorites on the road Sunday night. The Jets, 2-score underdogs in Dallas, as we discussed with Brandon. And the Bills are a 2-score favorite at home against the Raiders. Still breaking down this injury news to Aaron Rodgers. We welcome in the duo from the Favorites podcast, Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. Chad, I'll go to you first. How to attack the betting market now, looking at the rest of the conference. Take it wherever you'd like here on the Aaron Rodgers injury.
Well, look, I think Brandon did a great job breaking it down from a lot of different angles. But the truth is, the Jets are going to be playing every week. They will be underdogs every single week, as Brandon pointed out, at least until December in all likelihood. When you're a bettor, Simon and I just talked about this on the podcast. When you're a bettor, you bet ugly quarterbacks as big underdogs. So it's going to be painful. There are going to be times where you're going to be betting on Zach Wilson and the Jets. It could be this week. Brandon said he liked, the numbers at 9.5. He thought the numbers should probably be closer to 10 at double digits because Zach Wilson is a negative when he gets on the field, not just an even level. But I think you're going to get uncomfortable and you're going to have to bet on Zach Wilson. Also, a lot of unders, right? We saw this number. We saw this total come off the board. It got reset, and as soon as it got put back up, bettors started betting the under again. It was at 42. Now it's closer to 39. This defense was fierce, and you could tell last night when they realized, oh, if we're going to win this game, it's going to be because of us, and they know that's what it's going to be like for them every single week.
Simon, you ended up getting the total under, 44.5, 45.5, is that right?
Yeah, I bet it right after that game ended last night. It was just like, this is not going to last.
Okay. Well, like Chad said, that's gone. 39.5 points. Is Brandon encouraged? Maybe worth a look to explore Jets team total unders, tail their defense and not have to worry about, the full game perspective, just fade their offense going forward. So, Simon, we just talked about the odds of the conference. Miami is now the favorite at plus 135. You've got an angle for week 2 for one of these teams in the division for a chance to sort of make a statement and bounce back.
Yeah, I'm buying all the Bills stock I can buy. It's just a classic overreaction by the general public. Tua just had the game of his life. Yeah, makes sense that they're now the favorites in this division. People are just they want the new guy, right? That's always the hope. Josh Allen's been the guy. Yeah. They're excited for the new guy. Couldn't have seen a better game from that Tua. Now we have the Bills team at home playing a Raiders team coming off a big win, a big divisional win now, flying across country to play a Bills team that's just mad. Like, that's the biggest thing to me is in this week 2, you kind of get these really good teams who underperformed in week 1 and are now in a great spot to bounce back. And this Bills team, say what you want about Josh Allen that game, that was the perfect defense to shut down Josh Allen. The Jets had one of the fastest, strongest fronts in all of football, and they have 2 great corners. Guess who doesn't have that build? This Raiders team. They have 1 or 2 really good pass rushers. The rest of their defense is just a bunch of guys thrown together. So to me, this is a great bounce back spot for this Bills team at home in a game they need. Like, you might think they might overlook this team beforehand if they'd won against that Jets. They lost. So this is going to be an angry week all week for this Bills team. Now coming home in their home opener, we've seen Josh Allen at home perform really well in these games. And, the fact that it's still under 10, I think you're getting a good number. So 9.5, 8.5, shop around, see what you can find. Anything under 10, I like that number.
I know you both broke this down on the podcast extensively, so that's my way of teasing to go listen to the show or watch the show on our YouTube channel. But the other game in the division is we hit on Patriots and Dolphins, and the Patriots are 2-point home underdogs, so they're dogs again after losing to Philadelphia. Either of you want to weigh in on this game and how potentially, if Miami isn't as sharp as it was against the Chargers, does that kind of pave way for Buffalo if they handle their business against the Raiders?
Well, I'll take the first part. Simon can take the second part. Yeah, you're betting the Patriots this week. The same reasons you bet the Patriots last week. You saw them against the Eagles. Their defense was outstanding, and their defensive line completely throttled what the Eagles were trying to do. And if not for a pick 6 and a fumble in the red zone in the first quarter of that game in sloppy conditions, and even with those, they nearly covered the game. There was a phantom holding call on a 2-point conversion that cost bettors the cover at 3.5. It's the same Patriots team with a much improved offensive philosophy, with a great game plan from Bill Belichick defensively. I am not uncomfortable taking the Patriots here. Simon will say I'm sounding bolder than I did when we recorded the podcast, but I have found some courage since then.
Chad, it's always because it feels a lot better when you say it for a second time and there's just more conviction.
True. I've practiced.
Yeah. Simon, you care to add or anything? I'm curious about the division. Like you said, an overreaction. If the Patriots do give the Dolphins a game, as Chad said, maybe that opens the door for Buffalo to jump right back and be the favorite to win this division.
Yeah, or if you're like thinking like me and Chad, like why not throw a little on the Patriots to win this division? I mean, if you really think it's going to be the year from hell for this, Bills team, who's to say that Tua, a guy who's never played a full season, is going to last either? So there could be some value there on New England as well if you think they're going to pull an upset, which me and Chad do. Like this is a great spot to back a really good defense at home after a loss and buy low on the Patriots. I mean, this is all just looking across the board. This is going to be the biggest pros versus Joes. All the pros Sunday night will come in on this New England team. Like me and Chad, we're hoping we get to the 3, right? The public will come in. They'll back this Miami team. They just look at it just on paper. They're just like, who's going to cover Tyreek Hill and Waddle? Nobody. They don't really get it. It's just a scheme. It's not so much about who's going to cover these guys, more that Belichick will have a scheme to really, really, really attack this Miami offense. So just looking at it on paper, I get where the public's coming from. But when you look at the X and O's, this is a great time to take this Patriots team. It's just, this is another great buy low spot, just like that Bills team. Fading what the public perception is off week 1. It's a long season, right? People are already penciling Miami into the Super Bowl. It's not as easy to think it is. So this is a great trap spot for this Miami team.
And Tua is your co-favorite to win MVP with Patrick Mahomes after 1 week. So, all right, fellas, thank you. And I love it because I will be at Sunday night's game. So that was also personally very beneficial, your analysis. Thank you to Chad Millman, Simon Hunter of the Favorites Podcast. On to Luck Rankings. That's right. This is where we're at heading into week 2. Your luckiest teams, the Philadelphia Eagles. They were lucky to escape Foxborough with a victory. Detroit Lions. I mean, asterisk on that win, right? I mean, they beat the Chiefs without Kelsey, without Chris Jones. Raiders, Jets, Bucks, and then the unlucky teams. New England, Kansas City, Denver, Buffalo, Minnesota. It must be a new season, Nick Giffen. It must be a new year. Finally, the Vikings were unlucky. They did not win a one-score game to begin the season after their outstanding record last year in those situations. Great to have you with us here on Green Dot Daily. So we just saw the list there a second ago. Why don't you tell us why Philadelphia was indeed so lucky in that first game on Sunday afternoon in Foxborough?
Yeah, there are a couple of reasons. First of all, anytime you get a 70-yard interception return for a touchdown, which Darius Slay did in that game for the Eagles, that is not an expected play. That comes in over expectation by quite a bit. Now, it's not to say that can't happen, and certainly it can happen for a team with a good defense like the Eagles more often, and we factor that in. But again, that's still over expectation. That was a big swing right there. But another hidden reason, New England had 3 drives that ended on downs inside the Philadelphia Eagles territory. 2 of those came into the red zone, and they came away with no points from those 3 drives. That is well below expectation. You'd expect them, at least a field goal and or a touchdown minimum. And so, unfortunately,
Bill Belichick lost sight of the clock. He said after the game that there was only 6 minutes left. There was actually 9.5 minutes left, Bill, and he didn't trust his rookie kicker, apparently. Keep going. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. So, yeah, that was just a big swing. Obviously, even just box score reading, New England outplayed Philadelphia in that game, yards, first downs, etc. So that's why Philadelphia Eagles, luckiest team of the week. They only should have won that game about 22% of the time, but they won that game.
Yeah, as I said before, too, with the Lions, I mean, Mike Tirico was on the broadcast, and he even said at the end, like, there's an asterisk, which I thought was kind of strong. Like, guys are out every week, so it's hard to get on the Lions because they beat the Chiefs without Kelsey, without Chris Jones, who did end up reworking a contract to get back out on the field. But there were moments where it's like, wow, the Chiefs should have had this thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Kadarius Toney with all the drops, and then one of them leading to a Brian Branch 50-yard interception return for a touchdown. Sky Moore also some drops. So, we don't. Even though that was really bad, we expect that to regress back to fewer drops over the long term. So that's why Detroit was lucky in that game. And then going to the number 3 lucky team, this one was really close. So Las Vegas was only slightly lucky, but Will Lutz missing a field goal and missing an extra point for Denver was kind of the difference maker here. Denver should have barely won this game. So, Las Vegas was 40% to win this game, but they won the game. So that means there's a 60% gap there. So that's why Las Vegas has a 60% luck rating there. Real quick, the last 2 teams in the top 5 that were teams that should have lost that one. New York Jets, they should have lost. And we're not counting the Aaron Rodgers injury. We're just talking about the plays that actually happen on the field. Obviously, the game-winning punt return for a touchdown was crazy. And Josh Allen with 4 turnovers isn't going to happen every game. And then finally, Tampa Bay, a little bit lucky versus Minnesota. We had them about 46% to win that game. They did win that game, giving them a 54% luck rating for week 1.
Okay, so folks unfamiliar. So Nick, Sean Kerner, when they put these luck rankings together, they're going week by week here. So now Nick is saying, okay, I've got my rankings after week 1. How does that set up, based on their rank after week 1, for a potential spot to bet a matchup in week 2? And oh boy, we're going right to Thursday night, and you've got an angle. I can't believe we're saying this. The Minnesota Vikings, they were unlucky. It's the first time in 2 years we can say that, Nick.
Exactly, it is. 11-0 in one-score games last year. 0-1 so far this year for the Minnesota Vikings. And they were unlucky. We saw Tampa Bay in the top 5 in that luck list. That means their opponent, Minnesota, was bottom 5. So they're 28th in luck rankings. Philadelphia, number 1 in luck rankings. That is a luck difference of 27. Anything 24 or greater is significant. The luck gap between those 2 teams is 133%. 50% or more is what matters. So Minnesota, the unluckier team meeting both of these criteria, teams meeting at least one of the criteria, 96, 54, and 4 against the spread over the last 5 years. That is, that is 64% hit rate there. So real quick, this matchup happened in week 2 last year in Philadelphia last year. Philadelphia last year was only a 2.5-point favorite. Now they're a 7-point favorite. Do we really think Philadelphia should be a 7-point favorite when 1 year ago they were 2.5 points? And these teams aren't super unchanged from last year. Now Philadelphia did win that game 24-7, but our expected score actually had Minnesota winning that game 24.5 to 20.5. And the reason is because Minnesota had 4 drives in the second half get inside Philadelphia's 27-yard line. 3 of those got inside the red zone. 2 of them got inside the 10-yard line, and they came away with 0.
Primetime Kirk,
None.
Man. Primetime
That's
Kirk
right.
Cousins.
Yeah, I've heard some theories on primetime Kirk. We're going to have another primetime Kirk, but you still got to expect more than 0 points from those 4 drives. So, based off of last year's expected, points for and against for both teams and the schedules they faced, Philadelphia should be around 3 to 3.5 point favorite at neutral.
Wow.
Home field advantage isn't going to get them to a 7-point favorite here. So I'm rolling Minnesota +7 on Thursday Night Football.
And you got 7.5 before this shifted. So good on you, pal.
I did.
All right.
Opening line right there.
And so let me ask you this though quickly. So where would you cut yourself off? Is 7 okay? Obviously you like 7, but what if it gets down to 6.5, 6?
Still like 6.5 and 6.
Okay.
I think I'd probably cut off there. Now, to be fair, our luck rankings are measured against the closing spread, so it technically shouldn't matter what it goes to, but you still always want to try to find the best line. But I think, 6 is still a key number. I mean, that's a touchdown difference without the extra point. So I don't mind this all the way down to +6 for Minnesota.
Okay, the luck rankings, they are just getting started here on Green Dot Daily. Nick Giffen, you'll be hard at work all week long. We look forward to more stints here on Green Dot Daily. Thanks for coming by.
Anytime. Let's get lucky on Thursday Night Football.
All right. Phillies football team apparently needs luck Thursday, and the City of Brotherly Love's baseball team is being counted out today. Public likes Max Fried and the Braves more than Zach Wheeler and the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park, and the people think the Mariners Losers of 4 straight snapped their cold streak versus the Lonely Angels. Now allows me to welcome in Anthony Dabbundo, Action Network MLB writer. He covers it all here with us at Action Network and here on Green Dot Daily. Dabbundo, we did payoff pitch this morning. You had your Phillies jersey on. Now you took it off. Are you backing down on the Phils? Where's the confidence at?
Yeah, I should have put it back on, but I want to give the appearance of no bias from me.
Right.
As a Phillies fan, I of course will be rooting for them, but I also think there's value on them today at an underdog price at home with their ace Zach Wheeler on the mound against Atlanta. And I know that fading the Braves is a scary proposition. They seem to score 3-4 runs in the first couple innings every single game. Ronald Acuna Jr., the presumptive MVP now. But I think the market actually has consistently undervalued Wheeler at various points in this season and even the last few seasons. Most of the projection systems on Wheeler think that he's going to have more of a home run problem than he ever actually has in his career. And he's been a consistently elite home run suppressor, yet the projection systems that a lot of the markets use to price pitchers have him giving up over 1 homer per 9. Now, one problem for Wheeler this season has been that the Phillies have been one of the worst defenses behind him in all of baseball compared to other pitchers. But the Phillies defense overall is largely improved. The only red flag and question mark and something to absolutely monitor, because it does matter, who plays left field for the Phillies tonight. If they DH Bryce Harper and put Kyle Schwarber in left field, that's an offensive upgrade for the Phillies, but a big defensive downgrade. Schwarber is the worst outfielder in baseball. But if they do go with Harper at first and DH Schwarber, that does help their defense a lot in the outfield. The infield defense has improved this year as well. And like I mentioned, Wheeler, since the All-Star break, 58 innings, 66 strikeouts, just 10 walks, 2.45 ERA with a 2.9 FIP. He's been pitching at a Cy Young level. He just hasn't gotten the defense behind him, hasn't gotten quite as lucky this year. But again, undervalued by the market, can go very deep into games, which is very important given that the Braves used their 2 best relievers each of the last 2 days. Could be a problem for Atlanta coming down the stretch here as a road favorite in Philly.
Yeah, doubleheader yesterday, and the bullpens were both heavily used. So I think both pitchers, Fried and Wheeler, are going to be asked to go deep into this ball game tonight. It's been good theater there, Phillies and Braves. Hope we get to the playoffs, which is setting up, by the way. Your second pick out in the American League West, as I said, Mariners have lost 4 straight games. You'd think this is a soft landing for them, taking on the Angels and that operation that they're facing. But you actually think that the Mariners, their slide may continue here the rest of the month.
You can find plus 175 on Seattle to miss the playoffs right now. And I do think we've hit the top of the mountain. Julio Rodriguez has carried this offense through most of the last month, and they've really turned their season around and gotten hot and gotten into the division race. But I think you're starting to see the flaws that they have offensively get exposed. And if you look at their remaining schedule, it's going to be very difficult for them to be one of those top 2 wild card spots. Right now, as the field shakes out, Tampa Bay is pretty well locked into the 4. They've got a comfortable lead. And then you have 2 teams fighting for 3 spots. It's Toronto, it's Texas, and it's Seattle. Houston has a small lead in the division, and they are the best team in my view. So I do expect Houston to win the division. But again, when you look at how this plays out now, the Mariners and the Rangers will play 7 games in the final 10 against one another.
Wow.
Which gives an advantage to Toronto because whoever wins or loses those games, Toronto will kind of control their own destiny to kind of wedge themselves in as that other team in this group. And then the second spot will come down to Texas and Seattle, in my view. And really, Texas already has clinched the tiebreaker. They have a 5-1 season series lead. So any scenario where these 2 teams are close at the end of the year, Texas is going to have the tiebreaker. I think the Rangers are the better offense, the more reliable team right now. And so I do think that, Seattle at plus 175 to miss the playoffs is worth a bet right now. I think they're ultimately going to be the odd team out when it all comes down to it. They also have a weekend series with the Dodgers coming up as well. So they have a difficult schedule coming home and a series with Houston as well. So a very difficult schedule for Seattle. Texas a little bit easier and has the tiebreaker. So I like the Mariners to miss the playoffs at plus 175.
And for comparison, to make the playoffs right now, Seattle at minus 172. And, they get in. The top of the rotation is just as good as anyone else in the American League. They could be scary. But, as you said, head-to-head with Texas could make things complicated for them. Debundo, thanks for stopping by. You can now put your Phillies jersey back on.
I will be.
And last, but certainly not least, Tim's Takeaways. Tim Kalinowski is joining us. Wow, look at that facial reaction. You don't always have to be so negative, Tim. You always just look so bummed out, dude. But not all of your takeaways are going to be negative. We're going to do this every week with you. Tiny Tim's Tuesday takeaways. How's that sound to you?
That sounds fine. You guys think you're like clowning me with that photo. I look good. I look good. I'm not going to lie. It goes hard. It goes hard.
Dude, I will say the little tune in the background too, it fits you. It really does. Okay, give me take number 1, please, from NFL Week 1.
Okay, in terms of non-injury, strictly on-field product between the sidelines, the biggest loser, the biggest disappointment, the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
They say that you can't have your Super Bowl in Week 1. Well, this was the closest thing to it because they ain't getting to a Super Bowl for a long time. I'll tell you that. If the Packers started slow, that would have been understandable. But Chicago looking like that against Green Bay, hey, no more Aaron Rodgers. We have the better quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The time is now, and it was a whole big nothing.
Okay. Yeah, any hope for them against Tampa this week?
Tampa looked pretty good. This is the classic don't overreact to Week 1 type of thing. I think the Bears hang in the game. It's going to be super low scoring. So it's a matter of Fields, if he can get loose and get some points, that's what it's going to be. That's a big whole stay away for me. I might tease it, though, because I expect it to be a low-scoring game.
All right, yeah. Fields was not as potent as he normally is on the ground. He had 9 carries, 59 yards, threw an interception in the game. Yeah, they want him to become more of a pocket passer, and they're still letting him run around like crazy. How about take number 2?
My biggest winner. The Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
You go to Seattle, no Cooper Kupp. You're an underdog. It's a popular survivor pick. And the Rams, I'll tell you what, I had left them for dead in the preseason. I thought the Kupp injury wasn't so much about how much it would affect the team on the field. Obviously it would, but I felt it was kind of a microcosm and indicative of how I thought their season would go. The window's kind of closed. They're getting old. They're going to have to finally, pay those debts of no draft picks and giving veterans a lot of money. And I got to say, Puka Nacua, the wide receiver, I was not familiar with your game.
Tutu is good also. 6 catches, 119 yards. Matthew Stafford, a little zip on the ball, too. And if they play that bulletin board material all year, Aaron Donald, Stafford being counted out. Sean McVay, rumored to be done with coaching. Does he want to go to television? He had another kid. Everyone's counting these guys out. So I like it. I like take 2. And how about take 3? This one's a juicy one.
Yeah, this isn't about any team on the field. This is about the sports book refunds. The whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Everybody. The second Rodgers goes down, it's not even is he okay? Is he this? People are like, am I going to get my refund? The guy's not even walking off the sideline yet, and people are like, "Oh, am I going to get refund? Please." Oh yeah. Take your $10 and shove it. Okay. Yeah, sure. Here's your refund. I think though, you sort of can't blame the books because it is good business, right? Why not? They do promos, out the wazoo and whatever. But I think we have to all take this into account as bettors now. We're placing our prop bets, especially on primetime games, is okay. Well, if I bet this, did they refund in the past in case a disaster happens? Oh, they didn't. Okay, so I got to go here. But I've had enough of it. What if you bet a field goal missed? And you had that one clank off the uprights and go in. I'd be saying, oh, that's not
fair. Well, there you go. It's right back to the animation to start the segment. I completely agree with you on this. What about people that took Aaron Rodgers unders? They're not rewarded. How about the people on Thursday night when Travis Kelce was officially ruled out? Well, okay, you same people that bet for the Lions, your bet should be not rewarded, right? Because, it's only fair.
Are they is my fantasy commissioner going to pay me out if I drafted Kelce and he's out for the year? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Hi, commissioner. Can I put Noah Gray in my line? Can you actually take my Noah Gray bench points and please sub them in for Travis Kelce? Because I didn't know he was going to play. Tim, I'm with you on that one. That is a well-deserved criticism of people that are being whiny babies, just to get to the point. Tim, we look forward to doing this every week with you here on Green Dot Daily.
Yeah, it should be fun. A lot of positivity. Can't wait to come back.
Yeah, never change, pal. Okay, let's remind everybody that you can find all of the picks from our show very simply. Just go to the Action app, and we have an account for our show, Green Dot Daily. We keep track so you don't have to. Thank you all so much for tuning into our Tuesday edition of Green Dot Daily. Our show is every weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern, streaming live in the Action Network app, also on Action Network YouTube. I'm Brendan Glasheen. Thanks to our entire crew. We will do this again tomorrow. See ya.